Hello and welcome back to another Writerly Witterings with me, Michael Jex, the tea drinking author, who's got another cup of tea. There's a strange thing. Right. So, folks, what today? Well, as you know, in the last couple of weeks, I've been away and I racked my brains about what would be the best notebooks to take with me. And I have to admit, pretty much top of my list was my William Hanna notebook. Why? Well, it's just useful because I've got my diary in it. That helps. But you've also got a range of different types of paper: lined paper, dot grid paper. You can have plain paper, you can have graph paper, you can have anything you want. And what's really nice is when you order it, you specify the color you want. So for example, I've got quite a lot of blue lined paper which happens to match the color of the inside of the notebook, and that's nice. What's equally nice is the fact that all of these notes are adjustable. So if you've got a sheet of paper, say, and you decide you want to file it in a different place, all you do is you pull it out. It's got these clever little sort of capital T shaped hooky things, and they grip hold of these metal rings, and you can pull out your bit of paper and then put it straight back in wherever you want, and it's a seamless refiling, organizing thing. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. What makes it even more brilliant is the fact that you can fiddle around with alternatives. So for example, and I've just realized I've mislaid the darn thing, but that's typical. Never mind. For example, you have things like this A4 version from Atoma. And what you can do is you can take the sheets of paper from the A5 version and they fit into an A4 Atoma with no problem. So again, you can just take the pages out and put them back in wherever you want. Now, when I was away last week with Smithsonian, this was jolly useful because I could keep making notes on my lap on the coach with this, and at meal times and in my room later I could make notes about all the things I wanted to talk about the next day and then put them into here, and it gave me a way of updating what I wanted to do and making life a lot easier. It was frankly brilliant. But there's always another aspect to these things that you have to bear in mind, and that is that if you want to store something and keep it for a reasonable amount of time, then you don't necessarily want something that's very easy to pull out and put somewhere else. For example, last year I went through with these two and I made a load of notes and I've no idea where they are. I've got several A4 size Atoma type things with these rings, and I've got several William Hanna notebooks, and somewhere are all those notes that I made last year. But this year I had to start again from scratch, which is a bit irritating. And that's when, of course, something like a Stanford notebook or... Oops! I've just dropped a set of notebooks onto the head of a sleeping Bernese mountain dog. She's not impressed. But that's when something like a Stanford notebook, a Leuchtturm, or a Lockbee comes really useful. And I was, as you'll know if you watch my videos, I was racking my brains as to what would be the best thing to take. Because what I don't want to do is carry too much stuff that's unnecessary because it makes your backpack heavy. I don't want a heavy backpack. So I wanted to minimize what I was carrying and keep it down to a logical level. Now, a Leuchtturm is really, really good because it is really well organized. I love the fact that all the pages are numbered. You can have lined pages like this, or I should apologize, this is quite late at night. It's gone 8 o'clock, so it's dark, so the lighting is not perfect. But this is lined. I've also got dog grid versions, and the paper is extremely good. It works very, very well, even with a broad nib Conway Stewart, which is a gusher. Similarly, I thought if I take the Lockbee, then I could use, for example, some Fabriano paper in a cahier, because these Lockbee notebook holders will hold up to 4 different cahiers, and that's nice, that's handy. And I thought the blue one, well, that will become quite a useful sort of thing to maintain, and I can write on that and maintain whatever sort of. And the trouble is, of course, that as soon as I write something, I'm going to think, no, that's completely wrong, and I'll have to put a line through that entire page, and then I'm back to the fact of how useful the William Hanna is. But I did take this, and I did take this, and I did take this. And it was a case of sucking and seeing what was the best approach. And I think basically the best approach is still mixing and matching. I really like with this the fact that when I take these cahiers out, I can just put them on my bookshelf, keep them close to hand, and it will be instantly available, very easy to read from. And I can take it with me next year on the next Smithsonian Tours trip and use that as the sort of blueprint for whatever I'm doing. Great. However, I'm still going to take this. Now, the trouble with William Hanna, and this is a serious problem, really major problem. You won't have heard this from other people, but the trouble is, this paper is bloody wonderful. It's 115 GSM. It is really, really high quality paper. I would say that the 2 highest quality papers I've yet used are William Hanna and Stanford. Stanford is a superb brand. This is a sketchbook rather than a notebook. And as a sketchbook, it is fantastic for watercolours. There's a scene I sketched from an old photo of Piacenza. Absolutely glorious paper. It opens really very well. You need to teach it when you want to go absolutely flat, but it works. So I love that. This is, if anything, marginally better paper. It's 115 GSM, I think, 115. Very solid. It's not good enough for sketching on with watercolours. I have tried it and it does cockle a bit, but as paper to write on, it is just fabulous. Now, the problem with having it so good is that you just feel guilty using it up and then chucking it away because you're copying everything that you put in there into a decent notebook, another decent notebook, or a simple cahier system like this. But I've come to the conclusion that I now have purchased so much paper from William Hanna that I can afford to treat it as disposable. Shocking, I know. But if you see these here, these are all full of William Hanna paper. And that means I've got tons of paper to use. So why don't I just use it? And the simple reason why I don't is that I'm an author, I'm tight-fisted, and I really don't like disposing of things unnecessarily. So I like to minimize the amount of writing I do on real paper. I like to prevent the need of disposing of such things. But no, hell, I actually rather like the idea of using this, and then that paper can be used the once. I can transcribe everything into this, and then that bit of paper can go in the bin and I can replace it with a new bit of paper. That means this then becomes my standard walk around notebook and filing system. So when I go out to meetings anywhere, I take this, I scribble up all the notes I need. Later on, they go into this. Now, of course, if I was younger and rather more immature, hard to believe that I could be more immature, but it's a possibility. If that was the case, it is quite likely that I would simply have everything on a laptop and type it all up. I hate laptops. I don't have a use for them. I don't need a laptop. I've got two sort of modern day typewriters. I've got a FreeWrite from Astro House and I've got an Alpha from Astro House. Both very good. The FreeWrite is the better machine, as far as I'm concerned. Why? It's got a full-size keyboard with ordinary keys that travel quite far. It's got an e-ink screen that is very large. It's got a backlight on the screen so you can see what you're typing even in the dark. The Alpha is very good because it's very lightweight, takes up very little space in a backpack or anything because it's only about an inch thick, and the keys aren't as good, the screen isn't as good, it's just liquid crystal, and it's not backlit, but it is enormously easily portable and much lighter than a laptop. If I take either of those and I want to actually do some work, it'll be the FreeWrite every time because it's heavier, it's bulkier, it's possibly looks a bit silly, but it's a fantastic thing to type on. I can type on my lap with that and crack on. I have no desire to own a laptop. My main work is done on this bloody great thing here, which is an Apple iMac, and it's beautiful and it works. And if I'm typing stuff, if I'm in the house, I'll normally be at my desk, or if I want a comfortable chair, I'll take the FreeWrite and I'll go and sit somewhere else. I don't need more than that. What I certainly don't need is spreadsheets or any of the other nonsense that you get on computers nowadays, because I can't use them. I have no use for them. I am a typist. I'm a writer. I invent things. I write stories. All I want is a really good keyboard so that I can do that. Why is I saying all that? Because owing to the fact I don't like all those things, I do like carrying a pencil and a pen and lots of notebooks. These two are the ones that will always go with me when I'm out and about staying away. That one will definitely be with me all the time when I'm not staying away and just want to make up notes while I'm out and about. This is something which will then be used to store all those notes in a sensible format in a cahier. And this is a filing system so that when I'm out and about and I want to make rapid notes, I can do it on the smaller William Hanna notebook and then put it in here. This has got, I must admit, some gorgeous paper to look at. And it does look beautiful. Until you write on it with a broad nib, at which point this paper, which is the professional Atoma paper, I'm staggered by this, but as soon as you write on it, you get the most appalling feathering and bleed through. Look at that. So much though I love the look of Atoma, I love the appearance of it. It really is only good enough when you're using a pencil or a very fine nib. So that's me for the future. I've decided to take the William Hanna out and about, make use of the paper as much as I can, and then when I get back home, compile all of those notes into a cahier, and that will be the main way forward for me. Which reminds me, I've now got to start compiling a whole bunch of notes about my next book, which has to be done fairly quickly. And that's all for now. Thanks a lot for watching. I hope that was interesting. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget, hit the like, and then if you could subscribe and hit the alert bell, it makes a big difference. means a lot to me, mainly because it hits my income, so that's good. But apart from that, thanks ever so much. All of those who have joined the Patreon, thank you very much for that. All of those who have sent me a thanks or bought me a coffee, thanks a lot for that. And because you're so kind in doing so, here's a couple of mad pups behaving badly. Thanks a lot, take care, and keep safe. Cheers.
Yugoslavian.